what I'm concerned about is the 85th percentile. 85% of the vehicle will travel at this speed, and that is 47 miles an hour. So this section, that's too high, and they can be charged. This is where some of these come from. The busiest road in the township is McFarland Road, and we do that quite a bit. Probably because cars are trying to bypass Kennett Square, both from 5 Points and from Rosedale Road. They're trying, that's another reason the intersections are high. That's the busiest road in the township. And it also is one of the highest speeds. We have these, we've been doing these, even when I was in Kennett Square, long when I was in Kennett Square, we were lending the township our traffic counter, and the township bought its own. So we had these probably go 8, 10 years back. And we can tell what happens. So if we get a road, a local road like this one, there was a complaint about speeding vehicles. So we put the counter down there, and the average speed on this road is 26 miles an hour. We told the motorists that, or they complained that, and they said, that doesn't seem right. Most people can't judge speed. It's something you have to gain, I guess, through experience. I don't know what the answer to that is, but we put the police car down there, we sat the resident in the car, we clocked the vehicles, we asked them how fast that was going, and they told us, and they looked down at the speed and said, okay, we're not going to waste any time on that, any police time on that road because there's not a speeding problem. But on Greenwood Road, at certain locations, particularly with the school, there is a problem. And we know that through these counts. That's where we're going to concentrate our time. So at some point we need to, probably in a work session, discuss some more of this information. I have plenty of it, and I won't take your time tonight. But I will be able to tell you, we also get something from this. There was a big issue about the causes the state police give local municipalities for a while. It had to do with open records. And what is an open record? A police record is not an open record. And we started getting these later, and they subtracted certain information. This comes to the local municipality so that you can determine what's occurring in your municipality. So we can add these into the overall picture to give before the supervisors. It's just going to take a little while to put all that together, which we're working on right now. Yeah, any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Very interesting. Thank you.
Very
You're
useful.
welcome.
Okay. Lisa, I think you have the floor.
Yes, I have two things.
There's a question, Lisa. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
Don Henry, Victoria Gardens.
Yes.
I was pleased to see that light installed at the intersection of McFarland and Rosedale. But as he said, it's a pretty dangerous intersection. One thing I've been thinking about for the last 2 or 3 years, the person whose house is on the northeast corner of that intersection has let their shrubbery grow way up. I don't know whether there's anything you can do about that, but that needs to be either put way down low or removed.
Well, it's a good observation. I use that corner at least twice a day. His hedge is out of the right-of-way. We tend to monitor that hedge rather closely because of just what you said.
Yeah. Well, anything you can do
I
in the
will
way
do
of
that.
persuasion would
Yes,
be appreciated.
he's a very cooperative person. He was behind the redo of the medial strip on East Baltimore Pike by the medical center. He did a lot of volunteer work. He's a very responsive person, so I'll make it a point to mention it to him.
I saw one of those accidents
I know.
going south on McFarland. The car was shoved off to the side, had been broadsided. As it came back north, car was still there, so I was going slowly. But I started the end of the intersection. Somebody coming west on Rosedale, I had to burn rubber to get out of their way. So it's a pretty tricky intersection. Thank you.
Yes.
Joe Duffy. On that intersection there, McFarland and Rosedale. Right? Yeah. Now, there was a conditional use hearing for the Beers property. It's like 107 units, something like that.
112.
112. Could we have your thoughts on whether that will require widening of the intersection with turn lanes?
Joe, there was a traffic study done conjunction.
With conditional use?
Absolutely. A complicated one, but if my memory serves me correctly, it was not recommended that that intersection be expanded.
It didn't even warrant a traffic light, the way
Yeah. And the study is open to you if you wanna come in and take a look at it.
I mean, the addition of,
that was the
a lot
factor.
of cars.
That's right. That's
They had
correct.
that tractor in front of them,
Mhm. Yeah,
and it didn't even warrant a traffic light.
Wow.
yeah, okay. All right, Lisa.
I just wanted to say something about the fire companies first. A house burned down on Indian Springs, and we've been getting phone calls from residents that the renter was putting letters in people's mailboxes, asking for donations, and letting people know that the fire company will not respond in a timely manner. And I just wanted to explain, we do have representatives from Kennett Fire here. They did respond, I think, and Longwood's here. I think they responded in 7 minutes on Christmas night.
7 minutes, the first truck was sitting there.
And so they do respond in a timely manner, and they did. And I just wanted to clear up any confusion on that, and if Kennett Fire has anything they'd like to say.
If I remember correctly, you had to truck water to the site. Is that
Yes.
correct? And that's a very difficult thing to do. Besides, I believe it was below freezing at the time.
And I just wanted to announce that the supervisors appointed Umbreit and Korengel to do the audit, which was in the minutes.
Question, what type of audit are they going to do?
Bill, it's gonna be the standard audit that's done according to the requirements of the state. I can say no more, it's been done by Umbreit for many years and many other townships.
Umbreit is going to do a standard like we've done in the last 2 years, or intended to do in the last 2 years?
No, like he
Is that a
does for the other.
random type selection?
No.
I thought we had agreed that it was gonna be a full.
No,
Right.
Bill, we did not. We did not agree to that, and that a full audit is not going to be done by the auditor of Kennett Township for the year 2011. It's going to be done the standard random sampling method that they use. And that's, has been very clear from the start. Is there another question over here?
Yes, Richard Gaw, Chester County Press. I just wanted to get the correct spelling of Umbreit and
Korengel.
It's UMBREIT, and then KORENGEL.
thank you.
Has Kennett Township ever used this auditor before?
No.
But all the a lot of surrounding townships do though. They've been using it for years.
Another one?
Uh,
Joe again?
Just one point, yeah, Joe Duffy again. I believe Lisa stated earlier, either in some meeting, probably at a supervisor's meeting, that it was going to be a full audit, not a test audit.
If that
Let
was,
me correct this here. That's
You
what,
did say that, yeah?
I did, that's what they would ask Umbreit if he did. And when, in talking with Umbreit, and I know Umbreit's talked to Scudder and explained it as well,
Mhm.
that's not what's done. And that's what Umbreit has explained to us. And I know there's other CPAs here, maybe they can answer it, I'm not a CPA. Bob?
I'm a CPA, state of Michigan, not active practicing accountant whatsoever, but I can tell you that if you dictate one word to a CPA as to what they are to do, you compromise their independence. CPAs are independent, they make their own judgments, and if you ask them to do anything other than that, then you void that relationship. They are responsible to the AICPA in the state of Pennsylvania, and unfortunately, we had a bad experience, but it should not be held against the fine firm of Umbreit and Korengel.
thank you. Is there a question over here?
I'm a retired CPA, I don't practice. statistical sampling is what is used, and it's on a very sound basis to form a judgment to either a 90th, 95th, or 90+% percentile basis that the conclusion reached from the sample is representative of the population as a whole. Most of us are used to what you might call judgmental sampling. I take this one, that one, and I think I understand it. Judgmental sampling is not statistical sampling, which is the professional way in which a CPA goes about using sampling. A CPA puts all of the methodology, the statistics, the randomness, all of those are within their work papers that they use when they reach their judgments around using statistical sampling and how they use it in a certain population.
Thank you, that's very useful. Okay,
Bill has a question.
I want to clarify something. I was under the impression, I'm a Bill Houghton resident, that we were going to do a full audit of 2011 in order to clear the air about some of the controversy and some of the mysterious things that have happened during the 2009 and particularly the 2010 audit. First question, is Umbreit going to do a re-audit of 2010 or 2009 and 10? Since there's a lot of questions about the honesty, if you will, of those two audits.
My proposal to the board, and this is what Scudder was talking about originally, was we will ask him to review the 2010 audit.
And just so
If he
you
finds a problem, he will do a full audit of 2010.
well, and in talking Umbreit, a review is pretty much an audit.
Oh, okay, I don't know.
Say that again, please.
In talking with Umbreit, a review is pretty much an audit because he still has to, for example, I'll tell you what he's done for 2011. He has come in and looked at every check over 12,500. He's pulled about 300 random checks that I don't know what they are. He's looked at all the ACHs, the direct deposits, payroll, and so far that's it. I mean, there's more to come, but we have to do the same thing for 2010.
There were a lot of questions regarding the audit for 2009 and particularly 2010. The fictitious, if you want to call it that, auditor, no phone number.
I think I've answered that, Bill.
yeah, Bill, I don't think
Yeah.
we can go on
Excuse me, let me
this.
finish.
No, I don't know that I
More.
want to let you finish because
2000.
you're going over the same thing that you've gone over before.
We
It
asked
has been very
for you
clearly
to do-
identified to you
Yes.
what we're going to be doing.
We asked for you to make,
Bill, I'm going to
an
call you out of
investigation.
order.
and what turned up when you made an investigation?
Any-
DCED was the
Is there
first.
any other people who want to make a comment about this? Bill, thank you.
I would just say I'm Tom Corcoran, I'm in the county, in the township also, and I do have a practice myself in the CPA field. This term that is floating around, full audit, there is no such thing in the accounting profession. You do an audit, what's called under generally accepted accounting principles. So this, to keep saying we want a full audit, we don't want a full audit, the audit is done according to standards throughout the whole United States. So there'd be nothing different done in Kennett Township, I would understand, it's done anywhere else. And I've heard too that Tim Umbreit does have a lot of experience with a lot of townships. His reports have been accepted by the state that govern municipalities, so I see no problem moving forward with him. He's gonna have to satisfy himself with the beginning balances. When you do the whole year, you've gotta know that your beginning balances are correct. So I know he'll be doing that, and then going forward, and then of course the ending balances too, at the end of it.
With all due
2011.
respect, he's not gonna do that, because I spoke to him, and he said that he's going to do the balances, because he doesn't have 09 and 010. He said that he would be treating it as if this were the first audit done. So he doesn't have any of the balances from the previous years.
That's
what
not
he
it.
told me.
I have to
Yeah.
correct that.
Yeah.
What happens when they do an audit is they request that we sign a form, and the way they verify the beginning balances, no matter when an audit's done, is by sending a form to the bank, and the bank verifies the beginning balances. he requested if I would mind if you did that for 2010 as well to address your concern, and I said yes, so we signed those papers as well.
May I ask Lisa, because I'm confused, I thought that there were a number of funds that were all in the general
But
and not segregated, so is the open space fund in the general fund, or is it segregated, as one example?
It's always been
Okay,
segregated.
well, first of all, there's only 3 funds. There's an open space tax account, which is not a fund, it's an open space tax account. There's a liquid fuels account, which is the state account, and there's the general fund. They're the only 3. Their beginning balances and ending balances are made up of bank accounts. That's how they're,
I'd like to go on, please. Margot?
Can I clarify, I'm sorry for interrupting. I want to make sure that, because it was a subject of earlier comment, when Bob answered, he said, when Tim looks at 2010, if he finds a problem, he will do a full audit. That's what he said. Now, we've talked about the question full audit, and so I would like to have Bob clarify what he meant by the term full, so the record is clear.
Whatever his definition of full audit is for a township, I don't know.
Those are his words, I think.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. I have a notice that there is going to be here tomorrow. Okay.
Jeff Yetter, Kennett Township. You mentioned we only have 3 funds. We don't have a sewer fund?
no.
We keep the books
We've
separately,
talked
for sure,
about-
but they're not a separate fund.
Well,
No.
because they don't show up in your books. In the last 4 years, there's been $1.1 million deficit, and I look at the last 2 audits that were presented, there's nothing in the sewer fund.
We don't have a sewer fund. It's out of the general fund.
So me, who pays to have my septic pumped and pays to have my well serviced, I'm paying for sewers?
Yes,
No.
you are. Everybody, well,
Well,
everybody is.
That is not according to
Okay.
code.
No.
Wait a
we're
minute,
not.
first of all, we've talked about this many times, that there is not a sewer fund, and we were gonna create one. We receive money which covers our sewer fund expenses, except for this past year.
Past 4 years.
Okay, well, I won't dispute that, but we don't have a sewer fund. We do not have one created.
I don't want to take any more time on this at the moment.
Mr. Chairman, with all due respect,
Are there any other questions about audit?
with all due respect, Nancy Arnasti, Kennett Township. I'm finding it very difficult when you cut citizens off from asking questions. Some of us are here to learn, and it's not possible to learn when people are cut off and threatened with being removed.
Well, I appreciate your point, and if I came across as being rude, but in the particular case in the back of the room, that person has asked those series of questions repeatedly in these meetings and in our work session meetings, and there's not much new about it.
It's new to us.
We do, well, if it's new to you, then I'm gonna have to ask that you come more often. because
Well, I'm
we
sorry,
don't-
I'm a working person, and I can't be here all the time. I think many of us are in that situation.
Mr. Chairman, let me make a suggestion. This is going to go back and forth all night long, and we've seen this plenty of times, and I understand people's request for information. Still need to get done to the agenda, and it's not really fair to the people that are on that agenda who are going to make presentations. So can we move the questions and comments to the end?
All right,
I mean, I think that's the way Robert's Rules of Order operates. I'm not that familiar with how the township meeting works, whether you use that or not.
I'll take that as a strong
It's a suggestion.
Thank you, okay. There will be a saved meeting here tomorrow night at 7 o'clock, and we are looking for another representative to the library board. If anyone knows of or wants to volunteer to be that representative, it's one of 2 positions. We would be gratefully and happy to hear from you.
In relation to that, Mary Clark Kaiser has submitted her resignation from the board, just complete the record on that.
Okay, Margot, you asked for 5 minutes.
All right. I know you'll try to keep me on the 5. All right, greetings everyone, my name is Margot Taylor, and I'm just doing a quick FYI information thing. Something I think everyone should be proud of in Kennett Township. Just sort of a show of hands, anyone here familiar with Leeds certifications? Very good. Well, what was realized when the Leeds certification program was evolving is that it really wasn't properly evaluating and providing opportunity for sites or landscapes. So, a couple years ago, 175 of us, projects in 5 different countries, came and committed to being partaking in the pilot program for the Sustainable Sites Initiative. My residence was one of them. Of the 20 of the 175 projects in 5 countries that was picked. And what's really exciting is I'm the only resident in Delaware, Pennsylvania, and New Jersey. But more exciting than anything, I think, is for everybody here, it's a resource that I want to make available to the community. There's a lot of things talked about, oh, let's be more sustainable, let's be more sustainable. Well, what does that look like? So really, that's really what I'm trying to do on my properties, is create a demonstration and a model. So sites is looking at the construction, the design, the construction, and management practices of landscapes, and trying to develop a methodology and a process that is going to take care of water, vegetation, soil, cultural, as well as material selection and the management component of the property. And these pictures are all my property. Sustainable practices meets the needs of the present, but also without compromising the future generations' needs. So that's the model, that's the challenge. Here's my property. It's an 1.5 acres. It was a 1930s farm, tenant farmer house and barnyard. Farm and barn are long gone, except for they buried them all underneath the meadow. So this is a look at my property. I've created thousands of these maps in the process of putting together my documentation for sites. But the exciting thing about sites is that we really are going to try to optimize nature's processes. Another way of looking at it is that there are services that the ecosystem provides, and that I am trying to develop a landscape design and management process that enhances and optimizes those services. Clean air, habitat for wildlife, all the bountiful things that we can get from the natural environment. And I also want to create a model for inspiration. This is a little building that I have on my property that is in a book now called Small Green Roofs. And the structure is a straw built under 120 square feet, which was required for the building codes in the township. Being under 120 square feet, I could be a little more flexible about my design methodologies and really respond more to the landscape as it was coming off the ground. So what I'm saying really with this little FYI, first off, I get a point for this with credits. That's what's really, it's all for me. But also I want to invite the community, everybody. I know there's another fellow landscape architect in the, here in the audience, and I'd love to invite you folks to come and see my property and get a chance to see what these practices are like on the land.
Thank you, Margot. You stayed within your 5 minutes. The road crew has been busy between January 16 and February.
Mr. Chairman, I have some new business, and that's that other section, so I'd like to follow up on new business, if I may.
Now,
Yes. Okay. I want to make a motion. Whereas I was elected in this last election by over 60% of the electorate, including a substantial percentage of Republicans and Independents, and the overriding issue of that election was the circumstances of the 2009 and 2010 audits, the residents of this township want fiscal clarity and propriety. For the past 3 months, this township has attempted to clarify the circumstances of these 2 audits, but without success. For the last 3 months, this township has attempted to obtain clarification from the Commonwealth for what to do about these 2 audits, again, without success. This township has learned that the individual who presented himself to do the 2 audits was not who he said he was, and he was not qualified or authorized to perform a township audit pursuant to state law and regulations. There is in fact and law no audit for either 2009 or 2010. This township has learned from State Representative Chris Ross that the state exercises no authority over the adequacy of what a township presents to the state for an audit, but the state only receives what the township sends the state. The residents of this township have expressed deep and abiding concern, if not outrage, at the failure of this Board of Supervisors to resolve this matter. The meetings of this board for the last 2 months have been the site of discourse and disruption over this ongoing matter. The township manager and the township supervisor are personally responsible for this situation and the financial consequences thereof. The township is under a cloud of fiscal mismanagement because of its failure to resolve this matter. This matter must be resolved as soon as possible. The township has hired through proper procedure a highly qualified auditor and CPA, Tim Umbreit. And it is believed that an audit for 2011 cannot be properly completed if there are no audited funds balances for either 2009 or 2010. In light of the foregoing considerations, and to that end, I move as follows: that this Board of Supervisors hire Tim Umbreit, CPA, to perform an audit for 2009 and an audit for 2010 pursuant to the Umbreit proposal, the basis of his current contract with the township, which audits shall be performed contemporaneously with and be completed at the same time as the 2011 audit. All 3 to be presented to this Board of Supervisors as one auditing effort. And that's the conclusion of my statement and of my motion. I would like to have that included in the minutes, and I have a written copy, Lisa, so you don't have to worry about copying it down by verbal. Thank you.
The road crew has been busy since January 16th.
That was a motion.
I'm sorry.
There's a motion.
Second. Is there a second?
Yes, there is.
I'm waiting for a second.
I'll second the motion.
Wow. We will
Oh,
put
this
it
is
on
not
the
real.
agenda.
I'm sorry, what did you
Just
say?
for one moment, let me
But this is not real.
Robert's Rules of Order call for a second to a motion. If there is no second to a motion, then it is moot.
So there was no second?
No. And I'll say this.
That's
to
a
you,
good
Scudder.
question.
Excuse me, please.
What are they afraid of?
Scudder, I'll say this to you. We will talk about this at a later date. This is something that is kind of awkward to spring on your fellow supervisors.
With all due respect, how surprised are you?
Let me say that at the time of the February 8th work meeting, I said that that's what I was going to do. I presented it then, and I said I would continue to be concerned. We talked about it at other times. I said I continue to be concerned. I continue to be concerned. So, and you were very specific last Friday saying that I lost on that. It was a 2-to-1. So I wanted to go on record that this is my concern and that the record is clear as to who is in favor of going forward to deal with this problem. I'm happy to talk about it at any time in a public meeting or in a private meeting, but I want the record to be clear about my concerns.
I want the record to be clear. I am not personally responsible for the audit. I am the manager and I provide information to whoever the board hires. I do not do the audit. I don't have any part of it other than providing what I'm asked for.
What I meant when I said it that way, it was not a personal attack on anybody on the board. I was saying that we are charged
I
by
agree.
law.
But I am an employee, I am not the person that does it, I just provide the information.
To the treasurer.
Yes, I am.
That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
I have
I'm
a
gonna continue to
question.
try to
Mike?
get this, road report done.
I guess
And you
given the
are?
fact that, Diane Duffy, Kennett Township resident, given the fact, Mike, that my understanding is that the auditor that you hired in 2009 and 2010 doesn't exist, can't be found, the address isn't real,
Go ahead.
and the company, was it SGR, doesn't exist, never did, they're not certified accountants. Given that, can I ask why you are opposed to doing an audit for those years that an audit obviously wasn't done? And in addition, he never cashed the checks. This Mr., what was his name?
Ed Johnson.
Ed Johnson never cashed a check for 2009 and 2010. So how real was this audit? I mean, so I guess my question to you is, why don't you want to do an audit for those years?
I'm gonna clarify, I say I wouldn't do it, I said we were gonna do it after the tax season is over and after this audit is finished.
That wasn't our request to do it after the tax season, it
Right.
was Umbright's.
He's busy, this
He
is
said he
tax
needs to
time
get
and
11,
audit time.
he said he has to get 11 done.
Right.
But I guess I heard earlier that it's hard for him to do 11 if he doesn't have
That's not
anything
true.
from 10 and 9.
We have other CPAs that are in here telling you that is not true, how that's done.
Can I say something?
Who are you, please?
Heather Kelly,
And where do you live?
Kennett Township.
Okay.
We just discussed about beginning and ending balances. How are you gonna proceed if you don't have correct balances for
I'm not,
9 and 10?
I'm not the auditor, Heather, I can't answer your question.
Well, I just feel like somebody's dodging the bullet here. There's real questions here, real issues.
We're-
And Mr. Elling, I'm afraid you are the one that's dodging the bullet. And I'm concerned, as many of these people are, I'm concerned. Because I wanna know why you don't wanna talk about this right now, right here. You have a lot of history. A lot of history in this township. So it's a general question, something, if you're not hiding anything, you should feel comfortable about talking about it right now.
I think I've been quite comfortable talking about this, Heather. We have nothing to hide whatsoever. There is nothing deliberate by the Board of Supervisors or any employee of the township to hide anything.
Well, wouldn't it be more
Excuse me, please.
beneficial
I
price-wise? I mean, how
allowed
much
you
is
to
the
talk
audit
without being
costing?
interrupted. Would you do the same to me, please? Thank you. We've announced clearly a path to get to the information that you and we want. And it's a path that is very logical and it's sequential. We're going to do the 2011 audit, and we're going to see what that does, and after we look at that, it's not necessarily dependent on what we see or don't see at that time, but we're going to go back to the 2010. And our auditor has been asked to look it over to see whatever he might find. You just heard from Lisa that that's going to require probably as much of an auditor time as he doing the 2011 time, and it's his schedule to do this. This is tax time, and he's very, very busy. If he sees something in the 2010, he will undoubtedly do 2009 with our approval. That's the best path that we have to offer to resolve this issue, and it's an important one to me, and it's an important one to everybody. Go ahead.
Mr. Elling, I'm Marilyn Monahan in Kennett Township, and this is my first meeting, so I'm a little confused with everything I'm hearing. But as I understand it, some people here are saying that the 2010 audit didn't really take place because they don't have any verification that the person existed, that the documents they saw had a phone number that no one answered to. So I'm confused if that is the case, how the auditor is going to be able to just review the audit of 2010 if 2010 didn't happen.
Well, it did happen, and it was submitted according to the due process. It did look at the records that the township would produce and did produce for the auditor, whomever that was, and I quite agree with you, it's a squirrely situation, one I've never seen or heard of before. But there were data presented to that auditor, and he put it together in an acceptable fashion, and it was submitted. I didn't go into the details of it, and neither did anybody here go into the details of it, because to our understanding, no matter how mistaken we were, he was a qualified person to do that.
But where is it?
You're asking the same question that everybody else is asking.
Can you show that audit to some of these CPAs here to verify whether it looked like an audit?
I think we have that. I'll ask you, Jeff Yetter, do you have that?
Do I have what?
He's not a CPA.
Not a CPA. Your current auditor, though, said that whoever did that audit should be hauled before the board of review, because it does not follow accepted standards.
Okay.
That was the Bonnie Korengel.
So then if it didn't follow generally accepted principles, it's invalid, I guess is what I'm
We
saying.
don't know, but what Jeff said is.
I could be lying, you know.
But the board of review,
Could be making a-
well, some board of review, you indicated a board
There's a
of,
board review for accountants,
Yeah.
according to Bonnie Korengel.
and if they said that it was not following generally accepted.
That's the first time we've heard this.
Yeah, I've never heard that before.
Okay,
Well, wait a minute, you're getting things, this is getting all over the place.
Really?
They didn't say a board of review looked at this.
No, they
They
didn't.
said, he
No.
made a comment that another auditor said this auditor should be called before a board of review.
Correct.
But it was submitted to the state of Pennsylvania, he did accept it, the man was here, we have taken steps to find him, his name is so common, there's hundreds of them. We even went to the Delaware Professional License Board, but there are several in that area, which one he is, we're going down the list of each one of them to find out which one he is.
So do you have an
Because he did.
investigation out there?
There are no Ed Johnsons.
No, I'm looking for him, I'm not a criminal investigator, taking things all out of court.
No, I'm just asking.
I was asked by the township manager to see if I could find this individual.
That's great, that's
And I ran it through several databases. The problem is the name is so common that there are hundreds of them. This is the first time.
No, there's not.
There's going to be questions, if there are questions, they're going to be addressed here, and I will either ask other people to answer them, or we will do that up here. And the man in front of you has his hand up before you.
My name's Tom Monahan. I'm a licensed private investigator here in Chester County. I was contacted by several members of Kennett Township. I've done pretty much what the chief has talked about. I can tell you that there is no Ed Johnson who has been licensed in the state of Pennsylvania in over 20 years to practice accounting. There is no Ed Johnson licensed to practice accounting at all in the state of Delaware. I've checked with both agencies. There is no Stephen Ruane licensed to practice accounting in the state of Delaware or the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. There are two Stephen Ruanes in the state of Pennsylvania. Neither of them are accountants. I've contacted both of them. There are thousands of Ed Johnsons, as the chief pointed out. I can't contact every Ed Johnson. But there are no licensed accountants under either of those two names. There is no licensed accounting firm known as SGR in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania or the state of Delaware. I can say that with all certainty.
Well, thank you very much. Very good. Heather?
Who from the township dealt with Ed Johnson when he came in to do the audit? I'm assuming that when he came in, he was asking to do these statistical.
I dealt with him and the supervisors.
Okay, but you have no contact information for this guy when he came in?
No,
We have it.
I had it, but I don't.
And didn't you wonder why he never cashed the check that you gave him in 2009 for the work that he did?
Yes, when he came back in 2010, I asked him about it. That's why we gave him a check for both years.
And he never cashed that?
Can you give a sketch?
What he looks like?
Okay. Question in the back, please.
I just wanted to, Tracy Elling, Kennett Township. So how do we answer the private investigator that there is no Ed Johnson?
Right.
I don't know how we do it.
So given this, let's reconsider the motion. What?
Do you have a question back here?
Would you repeat your question? My question is that we have a private investigator that just said that there
is no Ed Johnson, there is no, accounting firm. So I guess I'd like to hear the board acknowledge that, and then that would make, any sort of paperwork handed in from this suspect that doesn't exist. I just, maybe just hear that acknowledged from the board.
Well, let me answer your question. Indeed, you're quite right. We acknowledge that this is a very mysterious man. We didn't know that he wasn't going to cash the last check until the audit was completed and submitted, and he's disappeared. And I wish we had. I wish we had been more proactive, but wishes don't correct the problem. I'm sorry to say. I really regret it too. Joe, last question, please.
Okay, yeah, Mike, thank you. Joe Duffy. So if we have no auditor, Mike, I would like you guys to reconsider the motion based on that fact.
Well, we can't do it in the time frame.
Okay.
That's my main objection.
Okay.
You can amend the motion.
Yeah.
Could you amend it and give the people the audit that we deserve and are to have? If you mentioned that, I'm not finished, please. You mentioned that you expect it will cost the same as an audit, so why not make an official audit? And everyone will be happy.
Since we haven't spent any money anyway, since he never cashed the check.
So,
I know this is a very, very sensitive, touchy subject, and Joe, because of the interest and concern of the township, we will make this a unanimous agreement to vote for the motion that Scudder has presented.
But with
Amen.
caveat.
But with the caveat that it will not start until Umbreit has the time to do it, and he has proposed, but not agreed, that it will be beginning August 15th.
No, May 15th.
April 15th.
Well, after April 15th, I thought you said early May.
Sometime after April 15th. Okay?
May I ask a question? You were ready with this answer that Umbreit is ready to begin after April 15th, and yet you expressed surprise
No.
about Scudder's.
No, we explored looking at going ahead. I said we wanted him to do a review, and we explored him doing that. And the timing was the only thing we had a problem with. He can't do it before tax and the audit season are over for him.
Okay.
I have a question that may be helpful to the group in total. I know that everyone would like to have an answer of certainty, even tonight, about all of the years of records. An audit is always conducted with records. I would like to ask the question, but I think I already know the answer, that 2009 records, 2010 records have not been destroyed, that all the records have been maintained. That the township, even with the bringing in Umbreit, a true independent CPA, known that the township has not been burning or destroying records, that all the records have been preserved. Whatever the timing is that the audit occurs will be within a statute of limitations. Even if the chief or the district attorney thought there were criminal charges, there is sufficient time on a large scale, I'm not an attorney, but that there is sufficient time. No one is leaving the jurisdiction, the records are here. The audit, whenever it occurs, will occur with complete openness to the records by a public CPA. I think that's what we're hearing in total at some point in some way, but as civilians, we all would prefer to have an answer immediately. But a process like this, as long as the records are preserved, as long as the key witnesses are available, yes, I said almost without knowing the quality of the people.
Absolutely correct. Those records are preserved and they will be made available. A good point, thank you.
I'm Clark Bach. I'm a member that live in the township here. I'd just like a clarification. Did you second Scudder's motion?
Yes.
Thank you.
With the amendment.
As
Yes.
amended.
As amended, yes.
And that amendment, so we can be clear, is that instead of doing the 3 audits contemporaneously, 09 and 010 would begin as of April fifteenth, or
No,
the day after.
as a date to be determined after April 15, and I'm sure it will be before the middle of May.
I thought he said early May, when we explored it.
What Mike, or, Tim.
Tim, yeah.
Yeah.
Is that?
Yes, Sherman Campbell, Kennett Township. This is a matter of sunshine law. In other words, I get the impression, and maybe I'm wrong, that the three supervisors would get in a huddle and come up with a plan forward, or a path forward. Well, under the sunshine law, that would be deliberation, and from what I understand, you cannot do that except in a public forum like this. So why not do it right now, or the next meeting, or any.
That's what we're doing. We have a motion on the floor.
Okay, so
Done.
I just want to confirm that.
Okay, all right. Jim?
Jim Henderson, have you voted on the motion yet?
I haven't had a chance to, you're still
Okay.
talking.
All right. It's been seconded, you haven't called the motion yet?
Not yet. Nope,
All right, you will call the motion.
I'm ready to do it when everybody has had their say.
Don Henneberg, you've noted extensively your discussions, at least two of you, with Umbreit. Did you have personal discussions with Mr., is it Johnson?
Yes.
So you know who he is, you know what he looks like, all that sort of thing? In
No,
fact,
no, I met him
where
once.
is your memory?
I beg your pardon?
How long ago did this happen?
2 years ago, right? About 2 years ago. I met him once.
Early 2011.
So one of you has had a discussion with Mr. Johnson, is that correct?
All three did
All three of
in
you?
the beginning.
Yeah,
Anybody know what he looks like?
I couldn't tell you.
What a memory, corporate memory.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right, fine. Are there any other comments? Motion is on the floor. All those in favor? Aye. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Road crew has been busy since January 16 to February 17. Skin patching roads and potholes are being filled as they pop up due to the weather conditions. A new snowplow was delivered that will fit onto our loader. This is a capital purchase for 2012, which was budgeted at $11,000. New mowers are being installed on our new mowing tractor. This will cost $36,000, and it is a capital budgeted item in our 2012 budget. To date, we have received 250 tons of salt. This was added to our storage bin. We must take 60% of our bid amount, which is 360 tons, by the year end. Trimming is underway in the township. Trim notices were sent out to residents in Old Hamilton to let them know that their trees will be trimmed in the near future. A new pump station has been commissioned at 555 Creek Road, which is called the Avello Pump Station, and it is now up and running. Some final touches still need to be done, but it will wait for warmer weather. That pump station has cost the township about $330,000, and it was a quagmire. It had been a failing system for many, many years. That was the place that I announced last meeting, where we came across a buried tank, 1,000-gallon tank, which was about 75% filled with fuel oil that nobody knew was there. And again, it's just one of these additional costs that we had to very carefully remediate it and test the soil for leakage and contamination. Bids for material for the year 2012 will be opened this week and awarded to contractors next month. The bidding will be for paving and chip sealing. It includes chip seal for Cedar Croft Road, Mill Road, Emerton Cutoff, and McCarthy Road. Our paving consists of Hillendale Road from Route 52 to the township line, Norway Road from Woodward to Burnt Mill, and East Hillendale Road from Byard to Rosedale Road. New road signs are being ordered, and they'll be here within probably the next 6 weeks. We are required to replace all of our wooden road signs with state-approved road signs that you are so familiar with, and we are now about 40. I urge everybody to volunteer to come to that because it's a very, very well-attended event. We have literally hundreds of people show up at a couple of places, at Ensign Nixon Park, and 2 other places in the township, which we will announce on our website. But we collect tons and tons of debris from the streams and roadsides, and thrown away tires that people abandon, and it's quite a job. Okay, we have one extension. Any questions on the road crew? Yes,
Do the smaller
would you
private,
identify yourself again?
Tracy Elling,
Thank you.
Kennett Township, do the smaller private roads also get replaced, the wooden signs with
Yes.
township signs?
Mhm. Yeah. Okay, extension.
We have actually 2 extensions for the chairman, the Ham property until May 1st, and Cap until 30th of April. I move we approve both extensions.
Second.
Okay. All in favor? Aye. Okay, there will be a work session, Wednesday the 23rd here at
And
1
then you
o'clock.
guys were going to discuss if you wanted one or not.
Well, we usually do.
It's in 2 days, that's why we were gonna discuss it.
What do you think? At this meeting tonight, do we need 1 or 2 days?
2 days. It does seem.
Good, yeah, that's
That's the plan.
Kill? Should we kill it?
Yeah, let's do work. Okay.
Cancel.
The normal work session, February 23rd at 1 o'clock here will be canceled.
I wanted to make a statement about the SAVE meeting. It is a meeting being held by SAVE, not the township, and it's to update everyone on the Chairman Mill Bridge and the Red Clay Valley corridor, so you know what the topic is.
Mr. Chairman, I gave you a motion earlier this evening, and you said that you were going to present it. Would you like to do that, or would you like me to do that?
Oh, we're talking about
Steve Carter.
Yes.
Steve Carter.
Why don't you do it? It's to remove him from one of our committees because of a conflict of interest.
Thank you.
Potential.
Thank you. Whereas Steve Carter is an employee of North American Land Trust, the township shall or may hereafter be involved professionally with North American Land Trust in the process of conserving land in Kennett Township. Steve Carter currently sits on the Kennett Township Land Conservancy Advisory Board, and it is a conflict of interest for Steve Carter to serve in both capacities at the same time. In light of the foregoing considerations, and to that end, I move as follows, that this Board of Supervisors remove Steve Carter as a member of the Kennett Township Land Conservancy Advisory Board with thanks and appreciation for his efforts, and use his capable services hereafter as a consultant to the township, to the Kennett Township Land Conservancy Advisory Board and the township.
I'll second that.
Yes. Any comments from anyone else? Seeing none, I move to put in the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Public comment.
Recently, the Land Conservancy for Southern Chester Counties sent a notification to the township that we are preparing for launching Phase 1, which will be a pedestrian and equestrian trail system in the township, a 10-11 mile loop. And during the last work session, Mike, you asked me, what are the benefits of trails and are people in, is this a good thing for our community? So I thought I'd bring information to actually tell you a little bit more about the benefits of trails. So, somebody.
Margot, just a small clarification. I never asked about the benefits, it was whether they're being used.
one may not be quite the same as the other. but
Well,
that's
I
fine.
think, they are being used.
That's what I want to
They're
hear.
being used, extensively throughout the nation. If not, there's 4 copies here, I'll get the rest of them.
Okay.
As well as a great opportunity for connecting people in Kennett Township with the land. So I have copies for anybody else who wants any in the bag, and it's just really getting into, you know, why walking and moving around in trails is good for Kennett.
Is it posted on any website?
Yes, actually, the websites that I referenced these articles is on here.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you, Margot. Any other comments?
Yeah, Mary P. Gaver, Kennett Township. There's been a lot of information about some volunteer activities and some meeting schedules. I just wondered, you know, is there a possibility of sending this out to residents via email? I know we've got 2 people that operate the school, each school has something called the bottom of the book bag, which is a daily email that goes out to parents with kids in that school, where we give the daily announcements and PTO information. That I don't know how many people are on Greenwood's bottom of the book bag, Tracy. And there's 650 on the high school. Now, all of them are not Kennett Township residents, but many of them would be interested in volunteering. For example, in the cleanup, the senior high school students could get service hour credit for it. I know the Earth Club tells them about it, but I just wonder what we could be doing to make this information more readily available to people.
We would love to make it more readily available. We try to put everything on our website that we can, but if anybody has any suggestions of a list, we'd be happy to do it.
Okay, I mean, I'm happy if you want to send me what you're putting up on
Sure.
the website, Lisa, I can send it to all the school bottom of the book bags. We love to have community stuff on there.
If you give me your email, I can do that.
Great. Okay. Happy with that?
Yeah, no,
Good.
I'm not
Great.
being criticized,
No,
I mean,
but-
I'm involved with communications all the time, and you have to
We're
look for
always,
ways to do it all the time, I'm just offering it.
that's wonderful. We're always interested in better communications because you're never good enough.
Is there an
Appreciate it.
email listserv for the township website where you can send people like that? I know I get the newsletter, quarterly, I guess it is,
That gets mail.
but I get something via email that looks like the newsletter.
From us?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
The only thing you would get that we send out email is the event sheet that has planning commission agenda.
It's something, it looks like a newsletter. It's got the same graphics. But anyway, is there a way to set up a township listserv where monthly you could get, you know, here's the meeting schedule for next month, and, you know,
could do
here are
that. We tried-
volunteer openings that we have.
We tried that a couple of years ago, and only about 30 people signed up. But if we can try it again.
Yeah, I know, I've had the same frustration with everything, you gotta just keep inviting.
Bill Houghton again. A number of months ago, we passed ordinance 199, which was to identify those structures, homes, whatever, in Kennett Township that were, let's say, an embarrassment to the township. After the last Board of Supervisors meeting, Chief McCarthy and I did get together and exchange places that I had identified and some other people had told me about, and the ones that he's already identified. The question, have we taken any action to contact some of those structure owners, and have they agreed to do something about it?
We've sent the initial letters, and we haven't heard back from them. We generally use US mail first. If we don't get a response, we then send it certified. But as a courtesy, we give them, you know,
How long would we give?
30 days. And
Bill?
Bill, I will tell you this, I give the township 65 to 70 hours, even in my present situation, if there's only one of me. So it's a lower priority than most. But I have been working with our new building inspector, who also is doing some working together on.
How many were on the list, Bill?
I think I had 5.
Yeah, there's at least 7.
And we agreed on at least four or 5 of them, and then Chief McCarthy had 2 additional ones.
Okay,
Maybe we could report on that at the next Board of Supervisors meeting.
good, thank you. All right. Any other comments? Any questions? Hearing none, I move that the meeting be adjourned.
And pay bills first? Well, we paid them after we.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you all for coming.